Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our virtual community meeting with Matthews Town Leaders. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Maureen Ryan, and I'm the Communications Officer for the Town of Matthews. Tonight, we're joined by Mayor Pro Tem Gina Hoover, Commissioner Mark Tofano, and Town Manager Becky Hawke. In just a few minutes, I'll turn it over to our town leaders, but before I do that, there are a few items I'd like to mention. First, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the town's YouTube page for those who weren't able to join us live tonight. Second, you can make a comment or ask a question using the chat feature in Zoom. You can type your question or comment using the chat feature at any time. We'll begin to take questions in just a few minutes. First, I'd like to start with some introductions of our town leaders. And Mayor Pro Tem, I'll start with you.
Okay. So what you want me to say? Myself, I'm Mayor Pro Tem Gina Hoover. Little bit about myself. I'm a Matthews native. I am serving my second term on the Board of Commissioners, and this is my first term as Mayor Pro Tem.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Tofano?
Good evening. My name is Mark Tofano. This is my second term as a commissioner in Matthews. I have been in town living across the street from the fire station since about 2012. And I came here from Charlotte to escape from the Charlotte madness, and originally from South Florida, military veteran, entrepreneur, and business person, and also recently a business analyst for the major corporations in the Charlotte area. So thank you for being here tonight, and I'm looking forward to talking with you.
Thank you. Becky?
Hi, everyone. I'm Becky Hawke. I'm the town manager here in Matthews. I have been in the role of town manager for 2.5 years, but I came to the town in 2016 as our assistant town manager, and I have been in local government for 18 years, almost to the day. So glad to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky. Before we take questions, and again, just to reiterate, you can go ahead and type your questions or comments into the chat feature at any time. Before we get to those, I'll turn it over to you, Becky, for just a couple of quick town updates.
Sure. Thanks, Maureen. Just two quick things that we wanted to chat about. The first one is an update on CSX and the parking in downtown Matthews. If folks aren't aware, we have a dedicated webpage with information on that situation. It's www.matthewsnc.gov/parking. But kind of in a nutshell, we have gotten into a bit of a dispute, you could say, with CSX, where they were trying to charge us for some parking that is on town public right-of-way, but also co-located within railroad right-of-way. And they have come back to the table, and they wanted to have a follow-up conversation with us. We had a great conversation a couple of weeks ago now, and we continue to wait for an update from them or additional feedback from them. So sort of the ball is in their court, so to speak, but no change to the parking situation. It remains free and available for all users along Old Depot, both East and West Charles, and then in the railroad parking lot. And the town board certainly remains committed to maintaining free parking in downtown Matthews. We do have our new parking lot open that is behind White Duck Taco. So that is 48 new spaces that are marked and available for use, as well as 35 spaces along Fremont Street. We've got sandwich boards that help mark those parking lots if you're looking for them. So right now we've just got even more free parking than we used to, but we will continue to hopefully work with CSX and look forward to a positive resolution for everybody, but most particularly our community and the visitors who come to downtown Matthews. The other thing that I wanted to touch on just briefly tonight is our police chief hiring process. We just completed interviews with 5 finalists yesterday, and we are sort of still sorting through those results. So no decisions yet, but in the meantime, interim Chief Roy Sisk continues to do a great job leading that department, and things are going really well there. So we look forward to continuing that hiring process in the coming weeks and look to have an announcement just as soon as possible. So those are the quick updates from me tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky. A reminder for those on the call, if you have a question or comment, you can type that into the call here tonight using the chat feature on Zoom. I'd just like to mention a couple of upcoming town events. As we get closer to the holiday season, we have a lot of great and fun things happening in the town of Matthews. Our Winter Wonderlights Park and Tree Lighting will be held on Saturday, December 7th from 3:30 until 6:30 in Stumptown Park, so don't miss that. We've got our New Year's Eve celebration on Tuesday, December 31st. Tickets are available at matthewsfun.com. Mainline Market on Saturday, December 14th from 11 to 5 on West Charles Street. These are just a few of the many holiday events that we have coming up in the town of Matthews, so visit matthewsfun.com for more information on all of these events and more. As we wait for some questions to come in, I will go ahead and read some that came in via email and social media ahead of tonight's call. The first question came in via email for you, Commissioner Tofano. This person writes, Commissioner Tofano, as a user of the current bus system, something you should be commended for. What are you backing as the future for a better Matthews, bus rapid transit or light rail? Isn't something, bus rapid transit, better than nothing?
Well, I agree. Bus rapid transit system is better than nothing. Let me tell you my experience with what is now the closest thing we're going to get to bus rapid transit. We have a bus ride and share at behind the Chick-fil-A in that area just off of 74. And the express bus goes on to Independence Boulevard, and for about a mile it's in traffic, and then it goes into an express lane. And I chuckle at driving by or whizzing by, I should say, all the traffic for 11 miles on Independence Boulevard. And it's a quick and enjoyable ride. The bus itself is like being on an airplane. There's luggage racks, individual lighting and air conditioning vents, and reclining plush seats. It's really quite pleasant. Of course, the optimum situation would be to have a train come in, a commuter train come into Matthews. But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, the likelihood of that happening before my grandchildren have children is probably is fairly slim for a number of reasons. Mostly the monetary part of it. It's going to be immensely expensive, and we're finding that out how that's going to be difficult to finance. Also, I have been thinking quite a bit about this, and I'm torn between having rapid transit come into, in the form of a Silver Line train, come into downtown Matthews and through the residential areas. Having seen the rail line installed in Charlotte, I see right away that build it and they will come. And what I mean by they will come is the enormous number of dwellings that are on both sides of the rapid transit system going between 485 and downtown Charlotte. And this is very well needed in that area, but it also is nothing but a corridor of that type of facilities. So I am a firm believer that we need to try our very, very best to keep Matthews as charming as it is. And so I have this dichotomy of feelings. One is it would be lovely to have rapid transit and in the form of a rail line, but I also am feeling very apprehensive about how it would impact the look and feel of our lovely town. So I stand right in the center right now. Right now, I feel as though that if we could get a bus rapid transit not in lieu of, but in advance of some better form of transportation and improve the express lanes out all the way to the Mecklenburg County line. I think that would suffice for the short term, and it might be better than a lot of people think it might be. And so that's my position. Thank you.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you had anything to add. Sure.
Okay, perfect. Bus rapid transit, BRT. In my view, I think the CAT system bus, I do like. I think there is a need for our buses. But when you say bus rapid transit, I am not in favor of that because I do feel it will destroy the character of our town. To have, I mean, I really don't understand where these lines would go anyway, but for that development is just like I said, it would, my view, would destroy the character of the town. But I do feel we have a need for bus transit, if you want to put it that way. There are citizens who are in need of that, and I do think we can have certain areas of the town designated for bus services. So yeah, it's just it's a sticky little situation right now, and it's something I think we have to be really careful in our planning with when and if this ever comes around for the town of Matthews.
Thank you. We just received a question, so I will go to that next. This person says, I missed Ms. Hawke's comments, and she may have already commented on this, but I would like to know what an update might be on the potential businesses for the new building at the corner of John and Trade Streets.
Sure. You didn't miss that. We didn't have an update on that. There's been no change that we have been made aware of. The last we heard, there is a coffee shop going in at that location, and there is also oh gosh, what is it? A Harriet's Hamburgers, which there's a couple of other locations around Charlotte that seem pretty darn popular. So I think that's going to be well received. I believe there's a third tenant space if those two don't take up too big of a footprint within that building, but I have not heard what would go into that third one. I know that they were working on permits. I drive by frequently, like a lot of people do. I haven't seen a lot of activity. There's at least a sign up, but I haven't seen anything that would indicate that they have actually started to retrofit for those businesses to open up. So I think we're still a little ways away before that's going to happen. But as far as we know, they are still both coming to Matthews.
Thank you. Another question that we received via email. This person writes, having seen some recorded town meetings on the subject, it seems like you are against rental properties and are not welcoming to entrepreneurs like me. Can you please confirm your stance on the subject? And I'm not sure who that was directed at, so
I'll start off. Okay, I'll start off. I am guessing this is about Airbnbs. I'm assuming that's what we are referring to here. For me, I mean, I am an entrepreneur. My husband and I, we own our own business, so I'm not against being an entrepreneur. The concerns I have when you say rental properties, and then if that's going into your Airbnbs, would be when you're talking about residential neighborhoods, you know, we have to consider the citizens that are in those neighborhoods, and they have to deal with, you know, if there's issues from the rental, you know, because there have been problems. If you have someone who actually has an Airbnb and say they live across the street, well, you're going to have more of someone who's more involved with that rental and can keep track of what's going on say across the street when it's rented. But for me, my belief is, the citizens of the town must come first. And if they're being negatively affected by Airbnbs, then, we have to take a strong look at how our citizens are being affected by these Airbnbs. But no, I'm not against them. It's just they need to be in the right area. So that's just my view of an Airbnb.
Very well. So let's talk about the entrepreneurial part first. Mayor Pro Tem Gina Hoover is an entrepreneur, and they don't get much more entrepreneurial than me. I've formed 2 companies from venture capital. I was featured in a 4-page spread in Entrepreneur magazine, and have sold my patented products to major corporations in the United States. And my products have been in operation in different parts of the world, not just the United States. So as far as entrepreneurialism is concerned, I'm all for it. Now, in terms of the Airbnb, if that's what the questionnaire is referring to, I'm in total agreement with Mayor Pro Tem Gina Hoover. We went through a large amount of effort and time to come up with modifications to the Unified Development Ordinance to help to mitigate some of the concerns that our citizens have expressed regarding having Airbnbs in their community. I didn't feel as though we went far enough, but we went as far as I think we could, and on the first step, and under the legal advice of our town attorney. I wish we could, and I hopefully we will strengthen those restrictions as time goes on. But we have installed what I think is a good safety net, and that is what we call the 3-strike rule. So in other words, if there's an Airbnb in a residential community that is causing discomfort or disturbances or uneasiness to the residents of that community, they can file a complaint, and it will be investigated. And if it turns out that the resident that has the Airbnb is in fault, it counts against them. And after 2 or 3 occurrences, then there'll be action taken to prohibit them from continuing in that operation. So, like I said, I'm all for private business. I think it's the backbone of American society. It employs a massive percentage of our employees in this country. Nobody is more for entrepreneurialism than me, I don't believe. And I'm looking forward to continuing our march toward a final resolution to the Airbnb situation. Now, in terms of if that refers to apartments, I'm not against apartments. I'm not opposed to any development as long as it's not high density. That's where I draw the line. And I want to make sure that if there's going to be a development and they're asking for rezoning, that the density of that development, regardless of its apartment or standalone homes or for sale, or doesn't make any difference. It's the density that I'm concerned about. We have a phenomenal traffic problem in Matthews that's continuing to grow. And we don't have the infrastructure, in my opinion, in order to accommodate that, especially our road system. So consequently, it's not any kind of negative feelings toward any sort of structure or home type of residence. It's simply the density of it that is a great concern to me. So I hope that addressed both possibilities of the Airbnb and also the if it could be interpreted as apartment complexes.
Thank you both. The next question came in via Instagram. They write, there was a Matthews zoning meeting on March 8th, 2023 for CPCC to build an advanced manufacturing campus. Are you aware that is no longer the case? They promised economic growth and targeting jobs and education in the energy sector. Despite this, the purpose of the campus shifted in June 2023 to a public safety training facility or police training site without updated community engagement. Community members had raised concern about the impact on traffic, jobs, and the environment when advanced manufacturing was discussed. Yet no follow-up meeting has been held to address these concerns. It is time for you to address this.
We seem to have lost Mayor Pro Tem Hoover. And can you try to?
Yes, I will.
her?
Oh,
Yeah.
she's back. She's back. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I got dropped.
Did you hear the
I
question?
was-
I heard the very beginning, and so yeah, about the Hendricks project.
Correct. Yes. And we actually did receive 2 other questions I see here now. And I think it's all about the same topic. So I can go ahead
Okay.
and read those now if that's okay. And we can
Okay.
answer them all. The question is, we would like to know why a community college wants to create a police training facility. What is the use for students to be in close proximity to shooting ranges? Next question is, we want to know about the environmental impacts of cutting down multiple acres of trees to construct advanced manufacturing and police training. What will be the impacts on things like ballistics, fire training, manufacturing, and construction on the quality of air, soil, water, heat, and wildlife? Will you be applying for air permits? How will the public share and have use of this land?
Okay, I'll start off with some of that. You might have to come back to some of those questions. I believe that meeting was actually on May 8th of 2023, where the board actually approved that, the Hendrick Automotive and Public Safety Training Facility and the advanced, they call it Advanced Manufacturing Campus, I believe it's called. That was always a part of the development, to my understanding. You know, it's not like it was a separate issue. And so the public safety is a go, and so is the Hendricks is still a go. And so nothing's been like, if I heard you correct, not exactly if I heard you correct, Maureen, but just saying, I think he thought it was no longer coming, the Hendricks property, if I heard you correct from the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
No, both of them are still a go, if you want to say. Why is it say CPCC? Well, I can't really answer that why, but I kind of ask myself, why not? You know, it is a college, and, you know, we need to be sure our police officers are properly trained and our fire men and women are properly trained. So I see it. I know some have disagreements with it, but I think it would be really a positive thing to help better train and teach our officers coming in and firefighters that may be coming in. It never hurts to be better prepared and learn more. I don't remember the other questions, Maureen, but Mark, if you want to step in, you can go from there.
I'll let Maureen fill you in on the rest in case you have any further comments. Yeah.
Yes, I think you addressed the first and second, and then the second one was asking about the environmental impacts of cutting down multiple acres of trees to construct advanced manufacturing and police training.
What was the last one about the permits?
Oh yes, what will be the impacts on things like ballistics, fire training, manufacturing, and construction on the quality of air, soil, water, heat, and wildlife. Will you be applying for air permits? And how will the public share and have use of this land?
Well, I would assume, the developer is going to file for all permits required as required that they're supposed to do. So that's really about all I can say about permits. I mean, there are what they have to apply for, they will follow what is required. The environmental impact, yeah, I admit that that's going to be hard to take when that area starts to be cleared. I can actually speak across from me as a development, and I've known that property all my life, and to see it, the trees be clear cut, it's hard to take, and hopefully, I don't know, that is a hard one for me, and I'm sure that and hopefully that they will do what is required by them on tree save and things like that. But yeah, I understand your concern on that, and I share my concern as well with that.
My turn?
Yes.
Okay. We are really blessed to have two of the nation's finest organizations to coexist on this incredible piece of property in Matthews. I've known the principals of both CPCC and Hendrick for quite some time, and they're both quality organizations. CPCC is recognized throughout the country as highly, highly respected and ranked in community colleges. Having both myself and my children participate in their education there as it's been a wonderful experience. And the Hendrick organization is absolutely first class. They don't do anything that is just not over the top wonderful. So having said all of that, the financial impact and the international recognition that the town of Matthews will receive because of the advanced manufacturing facilities there, it will be enormous. I mean, I can't overstate the benefits that will come to our community because of that. CPCC and Hendrick have been working together for quite some time in order to come up with a plan for the best use of that land. The facility to train both police and fire, I'm sure, I can say this with the utmost confidence, that it will be built and managed in such a way where it will, I don't want to use the word never, but I'm going to, that it would be built and managed in a way that hopefully would never harm any student of CPCC in any way. There would be every protection that would be necessary to be taken to make sure that they were safe. We really need that. We really need that training facility. I mean, it'll be used not only by our police and fire, but by police and fire throughout Mecklenburg County. We don't have any facility like that in Mecklenburg County at the moment, and it's well overdue that we do have that. And it'll give, in the long run, it'll give you as a citizen better service from our police and fire having the proper training. Now, in terms of the amount of trees that are going to come down, I want you to take the opportunity, if you can, to visit a Hendrick facility. They have large complexes in Concord, and to look at the quality of work that they do there and the amount of vegetation that they keep. Now, obviously, with a project of that size, there's going to be a considerable intrusion into the tree canopy and the wildlife in the area. And this one of the consequences of what everybody calls progress. So, but I can also state that the town of Matthews has ability and cooperation from Hendrick to maintain the absolute minimum that it takes in order to keep the tree save that we have set for ourselves, which is roughly 15%. I feel confident that they will willingly and expeditiously come to us with some plan that shows us that their commitment to keeping the maximum amount of trees saved that they can. So I'm in agreement with Mayor Pro Tem Hoover, is that it's always sad to see trees taken down in order to build something of this magnitude, but I'm sure it'll be managed in a way that will minimize its impact to the area. Thank you.
I'm happy to jump in with a few additional details as well. The community colleges in North Carolina are responsible for providing both the basic law enforcement training for police officers, as well as all of the certifications for somebody to be able to become a firefighter. And that applies to CPCC as well. And they have some facilities at their Moronkas campus up in Huntersville currently, but they do not provide the basic facilities that would be expected of any community college, let alone one the size of CPCC that is located in such a major metropolitan area. And so while it's true that there are other facilities at other community colleges, those are really intended to serve the law enforcement agencies or the people interested in working in law enforcement in those specific areas. And so with the lack of facilities that we currently have right now for our existing police officers and firefighters, we have to send them all over the place. Outside of the county, they go to Rowan, Cabarrus County, they go to Union County. And that doesn't sound too far away, but it still is. And it takes time, especially with traffic. It takes a lot of time to get there. And we have to maintain minimum coverage in town for both our police and fire departments, while also being able to schedule our employees to go to training as they are available or as the trainings are offered. And so that puts a really significant strain on both of our departments to be able to continue to serve the community while also getting the required training that they need to stay certified to be able to provide those services. And the same thing applies to all of the other localities within Mecklenburg County. And so this training facility is really going to be an important component for ongoing training for our employees, for the employees that are around us, and then also people who are interested in going into those career fields. If transportation is an issue, if finances are an issue, being able to attend a facility that's closer to home as opposed to traveling to faraway places also makes that more attainable for them. And so having something that is centrally located the way that this facility is planned is a benefit for really all of Mecklenburg County, not just Matthews. But a lot of it just does come down to what community colleges are tasked with in terms of their responsibilities for being able to train the community, in this case, both in law enforcement and in fire service. The other thing that I wanted to add, I certainly appreciate the comments that both Mayor Pro Tem Hoover and Commissioner Tofano made about environmental impacts and trees being cut down. But I want to provide a little bit of additional history on this site that might be helpful for folks who are listening, who have questions about it. And I actually have an image to share that I'll get to in just a second. But there is an old rezoning on the property that we're talking about that dates back 20 some odd years. I don't remember the exact date that it was approved, where the 200 acres that's out there was rezoned to be all car dealerships. And when that rezoning took place, there were no tree save requirements in the town's UDO. And so when that was approved, there was nothing to say that they couldn't cut down every single tree, let alone have to save a certain percentage. And so I just want to share a quick image. This is the exact area that the public safety training facility is planned for now. This is an old part of the rezoning application when this was rezoned for car dealerships. All of those buildings that you see on this plan were intended to be car dealerships. And if you know, we've all driven by car dealerships, there's a lot of asphalt to have cars parked on them in order for them to sell their cars. And so this was how the entire site was planned to be developed out, including that corner that is intended for the public safety training facility. That rezoning was still valid when this came forward to the board a couple years ago. And that means that Hendrick was the owner, and that means that if Hendrick had wanted to, by right, they had permission to develop all of that property for car dealerships. And so by going through this rezoning process for permission to build both the advanced manufacturing campus as well as the public safety training campus, that put current requirements in place on all of these parcels to now apply related to tree save. And so the minimum that is now required for any of the developments out there is 10%. So we do, as Commissioner Tofano mentioned, we do expect them to exceed those minimum requirements just based on the type of development that we have seen from Hendrick before and the types of end users that we do expect. But at minimum, it will be 10%. Had they been able to follow through, or had they wanted to follow through on that old rezoning, that requirement was not there and it could have been 0. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that this property had permissions on it that always allowed it to be developed, that would take down those trees. The use has just now changed in the last year and a half, but it's not a matter of if that had not been approved, that somehow this property might have remained undeveloped in its current form. There was always going to be some type of development on it. And quite frankly, it's surprising that it didn't develop after all of these years, given what the Hendrick team had permission to do, but they were holding out to see what would happen with the 74 improvements. And so that was why they held on it for so long. But there was always an intention to develop this property. So I hope that that context and history helps add just a little bit of understanding to the situation. And I do just want to reiterate what Mayor Pro Tem Hoover said earlier. Air quality permits, environmental permits, those are all the responsibility of the developer. The town does play a role in making sure that the site plans are followed, but otherwise other agencies are involved in whatever requirements exist for those parcels. Phase 1 phase 1 environmental studies have been completed on all of the parcels out there, and there was nothing of concern that came back. But as those parcels look to develop, that would be the responsibility of the developer to be in compliance. But we do certainly expect them to follow everything given the individuals that we have involved or the companies that we have involved.
Thank you. Next, I'll read a comment that came in, and then there's an additional question as well on this topic. The comment reads, "State cops already have training facilities. If y'all need more, go there. No millions for cops. We need that for people's needs. The department will always sell you a package if they can." The next question is, are you aware that about the protests against Cop City that happened in Atlanta, where a protester died protecting trees? Are you prepared to take that on?
Are we prepared to take on a protest? I'm confused a little, I'm sorry. I mean, I am aware that there are individuals against what they're calling cop cities. I am unaware of someone um, uh, I hate to hear that, that someone, that has happened to someone. That's sad. That should never happen. But I think, I don't know, that's just it's a facility we need in this area, in my view. I think when we have facilities such as this, it will help with the training of our officers and firefighters, which is needed. And there's, it's just something, I know it's hard to grasp for some, but I just feel the more training we have, the better equipped we will be, our officers will be to handle whenever, anything should occur. But I understand people being upset over it, but hopefully, in the long run, we can see that this will really be a positive thing. So.
A little confused about the comment, but let me respond to it the way I interpreted it. And the way I'm hearing it is the person that made the question or the comment was perhaps thinking that because of the trees coming down on that piece, on that land, that there may be similar type protests happening here in Matthews. We always want to make sure that everyone has the ability to speak their mind and to voice their opinion in a manner that they feel comfortable with. And if they feel as though their passions are running high on maintaining the tree save in that particular area, and they're willing to put their bodies in the place where hopefully does not hurt them, but also shows their commitment to wanting to save as many trees as possible. We need to respect that and to provide them with the protection that we can possibly muster in order to allow them to express themselves in that way. Hopefully, cool minds and reason would prevail, and that there would be a way in which to appease this group of people that feel very passionate about nature, and for us to conduct ourselves in a way that allows them to do so. I want to say that I have full confidence in our police department. I know many of the individuals personally. I think they're, as a whole, a very fine organization, and I don't see, or I don't see that similar sort of situation happening here. I'm not saying that it can't, but I just don't envision that it would happen here. We as human beings on this planet have been given the task of maintaining dominion over nature and to protect it as much as we possibly can. And I believe that personally. I know Mayor Pro Tem Hoover does as well. We've talked about it many times. So again, I hope that level of passion does not come to Matthews, but if it does, I feel confident that we have the disposition and the character and the quality in our police department and other agencies to management in a way that would cause the least bit of harm to anyone. And I don't know if that was the focus of that particular comment or question, but that's how I interpreted it.
Thank you both. Our next question came in via email, and this person writes, I am disappointed with the Veterans Memorial Park. Commissioner Tofano, you've talked about maintenance of the park, but that isn't my concern, especially with the volunteer efforts underway to keep it attractive. My disappointment is with the errors and omissions with some of the content. For example, the list of names of service personnel who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for this country include no context such as rank, date, war fought in, or location. Also, as an educational piece, I find it misleading. There is mention about the global war on terror. Although 9/11 generated an Article 5 response from NATO, that was for the invasion of Afghanistan. The war on terror is not internationally recognized. Who was responsible for the content of the plaques, and how can it be corrected?
Mayor Pro Tem, do you mind if I jump in on that one?
You go first, then I'll jump.
Okay. To give you a little history, in the 1990s, the Rotary Club placed the original wall that you see underneath the military flags right now, which contain the names of those that died in World War I, Korea, and Vietnam. As a matter of fact, one of the names on that wall, and tell me if I get the number of greats properly, is the great 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 uncle of Mayor Pro Tem Gina Hoover. Is that correct? Did I add enough greats?
Honestly, I always get it confused, but it may be great.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go.
I get it confused myself.
And that poor private died just a few weeks prior to armistice, and the other one that is also on that wall is Mr. Hooks, Private Hooks, and he died 30 minutes before armistice was called. I was commander of the American Legion at the time that we built upon what the Rotary had done. And all of us at the American Legion, along with many, many town volunteers and Eagle Scouts and many other organizations, in addition to receiving untold value of donations from Lowe's and Home Depot and Site One and Carolina Brick and many, many others, literally built that monument as you see it today, the Matthews Veterans Memorial Park, literally with our own hands. Now, to address your issue, the bricks that are placed originally by the Rotary Club around the flagpole and those that were placed in front of what's now the military flags and the American flag were engraved with their names, their rank, and their time of service. Now, you have to understand that what was engraved on those bricks was totally controlled by the relatives of those people. They asked the Rotary Club and they asked the American Legion specifically to engrave certain pieces of information on those bricks. But what you're recommending, well, actually, I'm not going to steal the thunder from Mayor Pro Tem Hoover. She came up with a great idea today, so I'll let her expound upon that. But that is where we stand right now, and no one, and if you've watched any of the meetings when it comes up to anything of Veterans Affairs, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about it, and I'm very passionate about veterans. And no one would be more pleased than to see as much recognition as possible given to all of our servicemen and women. Now, I want to address the global war on terror. Although it is not in itself a single conflict. It does cover the periods of all the way from September of 2001 until August of 2021, almost 20 years to the day. And it encompasses many, many conflicts. The Iraq War, the Enduring Freedom, the Somalia, the Northern Africa, and it's continuing on. And although it covers a number of conflicts, it is indeed recognized by the United States Department of Defense. And as a matter of fact, there are medals, the Global War on Terror Expeditionary Medal that is given to those deserving. And that medal allows that veteran to enter into preferred status. So it is, although it's not clearly defined as World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and others, it nevertheless encompasses millions of soldiers, both men and women, who have fought during those periods, and thousands who have died and who came back mortally wounded or handicapped or with mental and physical impediments on themselves. So we have to honor those people, and we do that through recognizing all of those individual conflicts as one global war on terror. So consequently, and I have to say with all of that, because it was originally the American Legion that put the 6 monuments there and designated one of them as the global war on terror, because that's the direction we got from the Department of Defense. So I hope that answers your question, and I'm going to give it over to Mayor Pro Tem Hoover about how to recognize individual military men and women.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking as as a liaison for Matthews Veterans Advisory Committee in back. This is a project that they have handled as well. So it's now under their, I guess you would say, maybe leadership. They would handle that. And if you've been out there, you will see QR codes, and which you can click on with your phone, which will pull up to the town website and pull up, the page. But what I have noticed is that what's on the town website is what's out there on what you call I won't call them pillars, Mark, but
War monuments, I suppose, or
monuments. Okay,
yeah.
the monuments out there. It's the same thing. So I understand where this person is coming from. So I would like to see, and to bring forward to MVAC, maybe when you click on that QR code, this is where we can insert more information, the information you're looking for, to get more detail of each one of the monuments that are out there. So that's just a little idea I had, and would love to bring forward to MVAC to discuss, and maybe this is a way we can address your concerns and have more information for those who wish to learn more.
So in other words, when they click on, like, let's say World War I, for instance, a monument for World War I, in addition to learning about the war, we might bring up all the information about the men and women that served from Matthews during that period of time, and maybe a little biographies about each one if it's possible, and that type of thing. I think that's a great idea.
I think the possibilities are endless of what you can put in there. It's just, it's, to me, it's just a great way to get more information for those who, click on that QR code and want to learn more.
Excellent. Yeah. And thank you to the individual that submitted the comment, because without that, it wouldn't have stirred these creative ideas about how to give more recognition to the men and women who served in those conflicts and wars.
Thank you. We do have two more questions, and I think that is all we will have time for tonight, so I will get to those. The first one is, why does this need to be CPCC money? Why are education dollars going toward this public safety facility?
I'm guessing this is pertaining, we're back at the public safety training facility.
Yes. I believe
Uh,
Becky already addressed this in terms of the community colleges providing the education and many certifications. So if you feel it's already answered.
If I could just jump in real quickly. Well, first of all, that land that they're going to be putting that on was donated to them by Hendricks for that purpose. So in terms of that being a expenditure of the college, that doesn't come into play. Of course, they'd have to upfit it. I am not at all knowledgeable about how the funding gets through the college in order to do this. But if our town manager has any input on that, that would be beneficial.
As far as the funding sources for the actual construction?
Yeah, I don't know where that would come from.
Sure, it comes from the county, Mecklenburg County is the majority of the funding. There's also private funding that comes into it. And so it's a variety of sources, but it's all CPCC budget ultimately that funds that. So there's no town funds that will be involved in the construction of the facility.
No. In other words, I think the point that needs to be made is that these are not funds that we're going to take away from the education of our people. These are funds that are set aside specifically for the purpose of doing the training facility, and in no way would it take from the curriculum budget at all.
Okay, thank you. And our last question is, just last year, an internal probe of the Matthews Police Department revealed that they were incorrectly reporting crime statistics. If you can't trust them to report on basic crime statistics, how can you have full faith that they will manage this facility?
And I'm happy to jump in and answer that one. We're talking about two completely different issues. So related to what happened with crime statistics in the police department, you're right, there was an issue. But when that was found out, everyone who was involved in that in any capacity was held fully accountable, and in some cases were disinvited from continuing with the organization. So it's something that we do take very seriously. That was something that was absolutely not to standard, and people were held appropriately accountable. We then took steps to ensure that that was not able to happen again. And then we proactively talked about it with the community because we felt like it was important to make sure that we were conveying what did happen and what should have happened and what would be different in the future. But when you're talking about the public safety training facility, that will be a function of the community college. So that will be an education setting. It will be managed through the college. It will be managed by education administrators. It is not a town law enforcement facility. It is not a town fire facility. It is a college campus. And so law enforcement will be able to have access to use the facility, to attend classes, to be able to have training there, but it will not be their facility to run or manage. We would be end users, just the way that any other community college student would be. But in this case, you're attending certification courses as opposed to perhaps a degree curriculum for our existing employees. And then for somebody who is trying to get certified to either be a police officer or a firefighter, they would be a college student, just like anybody else. They just happen to be attending police or fire coursework as opposed to nursing or public speaking class or many of the other things that are offered by the community college. But we will not be involved in the management.
I interpreted, Maureen, would you repeat that? Because I interpreted something else in there. Can you repeat that again?
Yes. Let me see here. It was just last year, an internal probe on the Matthews Police Department revealed they were incorrectly reporting crime statistics. If you can't trust them to report on basic crime statistics, how can you have full faith that they will manage this facility?
Ah, okay. It was this facility that I missed. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I thought that it was implying that uh, to how can we trust them to manage something else, something like the tree save situation or something of that nature. I didn't hear the facility, and I think our town manager answered that precisely correctly, and that is that that facility is going to be managed by CPCC personnel and funded through that funding source. And the two are disconnected. But I do want to make a comment if I can. How much time do we have, Maureen?
A couple of minutes, go ahead.
Okay. It's one thing to have uh, a police department that is systematically corrupt or not serving the public interest or whatever. But it's another thing to have individuals who don't necessarily abide by the rules and regulations or feel as though they can operate outside of the process. We're all human beings. I mean, we have stresses in our lives. We have uh, pressures on us that some of us don't even imagine that every individual goes through every day in their life. And every now and then, something's going to happen with an individual. And there's really nothing that we can do to mitigate that because of the fact that we all have to live our daily lives with the pressures and circumstances that we're dealt. Now, having said that, is we don't have a systematically corrupt police department or a systematically department that is unwilling or unable to satisfy or protect our citizens. I know a lot of these men and women personally, and they're fine people. Every now and then, something will happen with one of them, and it's unfortunate, but that happens throughout life in every organization, whether it's a business or a police department or foreign aid or domestic aid facility. It doesn't matter. Sometimes individuals will not act in the best interest of the community. We can't hold a police department as a whole up to the standards of that one variant. So I always try to look at it that way. And in all honesty, I can say that I feel very good about the men and women that serve in our police department and in our fire department and throughout the town. And we need to separate one individual's actions from how we feel about the entire organization. So thank you very much for allowing me to make that comment.
Yeah, I agree completely, Commissioner Tofano. You cannot place, if you have one individual who, say, misrepresents something, you cannot place that upon the whole group of the whole police department, or even if it was the fire department. It's just, unfortunately, when you have a bucket of apples, that expression, one bad apple, I can't remember how it goes, but yeah, they're super duper people. They really are. I enjoy talking to them and getting to know them even more. Yeah, I support them, and they're just really, really great people. So yeah, you can't, it's sad things like that happen, but unfortunately they do. So, but yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you. Well, that ends our time here for this community meeting this evening. I want to thank you all for participating. I want to thank everyone who joined us tonight and asked some great questions. And I want to thank our town leaders for being here tonight. And any closing remarks?
Yes, I just want to say I am thrilled whenever the public participates in their government. And for you to take the time at 8 o'clock at night to get on a Zoom meeting in order to ask your questions or give your comments, kudos to you and applauding to you. And keep it up. Tell your friends and neighbors. Their voices will be heard. And I thank you very much for taking the time to let us know how you feel, and it was very much appreciated.
Yes, again, thank you, and enjoyed the questions, and I love, actually, I love speaking to the public face to face. So, I love to see the person I'm talking to, but I enjoy this very much, and hope we continue this. So thank you for attending.
Good night.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.